Hi there, welcome to Fritchie's Rebel Garage. Come on inside and hang out a little bit. There's a cold beer in the fridge for you and another great project to work on in the garage. Good evening, guys. So as you can see here, we've got the Polaris Ranger XP700 in the shop. I've already kind of walked through the introduction, what's going on with it and what's wrong with it. And today we are going to go ahead and I have a pile of parts sitting in the seat with me. We're going to go through each part, what I found wrong with the machine itself, and what we're doing to fix that issue. So let's not waste too much time and let's get right into this project. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys how to get the trouble codes out of this machine. A lot of the videos I've seen so far on YouTube, they had an instrument panel that would just show you the numbers. This does not. You got to count the blinks of this wrench light that's right here. So you're going to go key on, off. You can do that 3 times and end in the start run position. We had it blink. That was 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 45. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So that's 41. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. So it's 51. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. 52. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 54. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. 61 is the end of the list, and this should go solid again. There it is. So the 61 code just basically tells you you're at the end of the diagnostic trouble codes. So this machine, currently we have 45, 41, 51, 52, and 54. So I'll have to reference the trouble code chart to see what each one of those codes means. What I'll probably end up doing right now is I'll disconnect the battery for about 15 minutes. That should clear the codes. And then we'll let it run again and see which ones stick around, because some of these might just be stored in memory from past repairs. So let's go ahead and do that. So right off the bat, one of the first things on it, being that I am unsure what condition the fuel is in, and the gauge here on the tank is reading that it's got about 1/8 of a tank to 1/4 of a tank of gas in it. I'm going to go ahead take that. We're going to go ahead and drain the tank. Doing this just to make sure that whatever good new gas that I do put in this, I want to make sure that it is actually good gas, so, and that the engine itself is getting good gas. So I'm going to go ahead and siphon the fuel tank. So we're siphoning all the old gas out of the tank. This is going to be my first step. This way, when I go ahead and put fresh gas in it, we will know that there is fresh, good gas in the tank. While that's siphoning, we'll go ahead and I'll walk you through some of the other stuff that I found wrong with it. So, one of the first things I noticed under here is the condition of the spark plug wires. This plug wire actually pulled off the connector that would sit on top of the spark plug at one point in time. And I went ahead and I tried to crimp it back on to see what that would do, and there was no change. So since the plug wire itself was compromised, we're going to just go ahead and change out the plug wires. And while we're changing out plug wires, we might as well change out the spark plugs to go with it. And that's all just basic maintenance that may just be the part of the reason as to why this machine is not running properly. So, all right, so we already got the plug wire undone. Go ahead. I've got my 5/8 spark plug socket here. Crack that loose. Take out the spark plug. It's somewhat fouled, but not the worst plugs I've ever seen. So we got the new spark plug here. Go ahead and just put a little bit of anti-seize on its threads. Put it back down the hole. Go ahead and thread that back into place. Once you feel it start to snug up, just give it a little bit. You don't have to go crazy on these because you will strip out the threads. That wire, make sure you remember which wire goes where. So I'm going to take that wire, put it all the way over there. Over here we find our other spark plug boot. Pull that off. And we do the same thing. So that was the 2 spark plugs replaced. So we're going to follow the spark plug wires. So you can see this over here. You can see it moving right there. So here's our coil. I'll remove the one. That's our passenger side wire. Go ahead and put our new wire in. And there we go. We went ahead, we changed out the spark plugs and the plug wires. So the next issue I found is over here. Pull that out. Previous owner made a shield out of an old rubber boot. So over here where the boot does actually sit and rest against the metal bracketry for the framework here of the cab. We have a clamp here to undo. Go ahead. And I've already undone the clamp that's down by the airbox. So I can just go ahead and pull this out. This here tube runs from the airbox over here to the carb over here, and there is a sensor here, very similar to a mass airflow sensor on your car. But if you look after the sensor, this tube itself underneath the clamp is all broken. And if this is allowing extra air to get sucked into the motor that isn't being metered, it can throw the entire computer off that's controlling this, because this is a fuel injected computer controlled engine on this machine. So I do have here, a nice brand new tube for that. Again, it's all about fixing the obvious issues first before you start seriously diving into the bigger issues later. So we have to transfer that sensor over. So we've got a 3/8 socket on the quarter drive ratchet. I'll be able to just go ahead and break that bolt loose. We'll back it out. Wiggle. We can pull the sensor out. So right here, this is the T-Bap sensor. We took it out of that tube. We're going to just go ahead and we're going to clean up in the sensor area of it. Make sure that this is working. I got just some spray electrical parts cleaner that we're going to use. But we're right here. And all we're going to do is just go ahead and give it a spray down. Make sure there's no dirt, grease, or contaminants on it. We'll go ahead and wipe that down, and then we'll put it back in. But there's a little bit of an O-ring on there, so we're going to just push it into its new tube. Seat the O-ring. A little bit of a twisting motion helps. Now, before we go ahead and fully install this, we do have another item up here to address. That is over here. This is the connector for this sensor. I know that the wires coming out of it, these are very small wires, and they are known to break and fail. And as you can see, somebody has already replaced this pigtail once before. and this is a very common issue. So I went ahead, because it's not that expensive, and bought another new pigtail. And we're going to go ahead and put this on to make sure that we know that we have a good pigtail in it, because the wires do like to break right around here, right where they plug in to the sensor. And some of the codes we are getting from the check engine light, the majority of the codes are related to this sensor. And most of the time it's the connector and the associated wiring and not the sensor itself. I say most of the time, not all the time. So this is cheaper than a sensor, so we're going to go ahead and do this first and see if this fixes the issue. So, unfortunately, the coloring between the two pigtails, the wire colors have changed. So I can't just cut this all off and then match everything up. What we're going to do is individually cut each wire one at a time and then splice in the corresponding wire from this pigtail. So we're starting on that end of the old pigtail. So on the new pigtail, instead of purple, we're going to be going to white. So now we'll move on to the next wire. So now that we got everything crimped in place, we're going to go ahead and shrink tube it. All right, so while those all cool off, we can go ahead and install the intake tube. Alright, so we've got all the new parts that I had ordered up for this put in. And now we'll go ahead, we'll turn the key and see if there's any improvement to the machine. Well, started up better. I can actually get it into gear. So here's a little bit of a development. Well, that's exhaust gases coming out through the radiator cap. Clearly we have some head gasket issues. Well, that'll conclude this part of working on this project. So all the parts that we did put in it, it has made it run better. It starts easier, it's idling better. You can actually put it into gear and take it out of gear without having to shut the motor off. But now it is running long enough to show us that there is more damage to this than we thought originally. So as you can see from the exhaust gases coming out of the radiator cap, this will need a head gasket. So I will get those parts ordered up, and the next time you see this Polaris Ranger on the channel, we're going to go ahead and yank the head off and replace the head gasket in it. So if you're liking this content, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.